Okay, guys, so we're gonna have Gnar first impressions with me, Valkrin, a challenger player, and a friend of mine, Tyler, the TGO. So, Tyler, we were just chatting about Gnar, and I was like, oh, we got to record this. This is great. So the first thing I want to talk about is Gnar's passive, the Rage Gene. So let me go ahead and play this video real quick. Okay, all right, all right. First impression. First impression from this. Another champion without mana. Like,
Oh, that was your first impression?
but
My first
I'm
impression
looking at the
was,
passive here, and I'm just like, okay, all right, all right, all right. We accept the fact. We're just gonna go ahead and just jump right into it. We accept the fact that mana is a boring stat. People just don't like having to utilize mana. They want, things they're not going to get punished as much for, like, oh, a rage bar, like we just fill this up, then we use abilities. It's it's honestly kind of depressing because it's like, okay, I understand that this is going to be fun, like this is going to be a fun new passive, but like it's making everything else kind of outdated. Like, what do you think?
oh man. Well, first of all, I'm a big supporter of anything that I can do to make myself not be bad at the game, and not having to manage mana makes me exponentially better at the game. So, first of all, great idea, Riot. Just put the rage bar on everything.
Well, in all honesty, it's like, okay, well, when you're trying to balance a game around champions having mana, having to worry about actually building mana stats to be able to use their abilities, and then you're also looking at other champions like, like Rengar, Riven, like champions. It's just like you just, kind of you can mash your keyboard and you're not going to get punished for it, to some extent, other than the fact that having your abilities on cooldown, getting traded like that. But like, all right, here's another champion where it's like, you know what, guys, we heard you. We want to make a champion that you can kind of just do things without, thinking about it. Anyways,
Well, the best part is, those same people that are like, yeah, I don't like mana users are the same people that are upset when people have an item like Athene's that's good. I mean, you spend 2k gold, you don't have to worry about your mana as much. No, those people go on the forums and say, no, why do manas cost so little? I don't understand. It's ridiculous. Like, when there's a problem and people don't want to deal with it, and the problem here is like mana. It's really, really bad because champions that don't have mana are really good, and champions that do are at an inherent disadvantage. And those champions always have to buy Athenes. Like,
right, right. It's hard to balance around because it's like champions like Rengar, you don't have to worry about mana stat. You can just get full offensive or work towards full tanky. You don't have to worry about that extra stat. But yeah, let's move on to Mini Gnar, the boomerang throw. Let's go ahead and watch
whoa,
this.
you forgot to mention the best part about it.
What?
He's a range and a melee.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I was going to talk about that with the
Oh, okay,
boomerang
all right,
throw,
let's
but
watch
yeah.
boomerang throw.
All right. Okay, so why does this have a slow on it? Like, what? There was a Reddit thread the other day that was like, how many slows are in League of Legends? There are too many slows. And then yes, this is because it's necessary. What was it? What was it Hashinshin's post? I think it was Hashinshin's
Oh
post.
man, Hashinson went like so crazy about how
They're
all
just it's
melees
so
are
hard
getting
to play in
screwed
melee
because
when
of
everything has a
yeah.
slow. Another champion with a slow. It's like Sivir's boomerang, her Q, and it has a slow on it. Like, what Sivers would kill to have a slow in the boomerang blade. Like, okay, okay, Mini Gnar, boomerang throw. Let's just you have a slow on it. Like, okay, and then Mega Gnar, the same ability, Boulder Toss.
And
Slow.
this ability
Like,
is literally you don't understand, Richard. I think this passed by you, but think about this for a second. This champion has Sivir's Q and Olaf's Q, both of them.
oh God.
And yet Sivir's Q, if he catches the boomerang, the cooldown's reduced too.
No, we don't know the numbers on this, but just the fact that we know that this is going to be it has a CC component to it, already makes me like, okay, this is a dual ability. Like, hey, you know what? dual abilities are great. Like we've had such great success balancing Nidalee and Elise over the years that we've decided to make another champion that can go into a new form. Surely this is going to be easy to balance, right, guys? Like we've been struggling with balance with Elise for I don't know how long, but it's definitely bound. I don't even know. We won't go into that.
We watched the video. We saw Gnar throw the Q. It hit the champion. It hit Lissandra right away, and he caught it, and he immediately threw it again. We know the cooldown's ridiculously low if you catch it. That's something we do know from it.
Okay, so he starts off in ranged form. Like when you're Mini Gnar, you're ranged champion, I believe.
Yes.
Okay, and then Mega Gnar is like, hey, like you didn't like playing as a ranged champion. Let's make you a bruiser now. Like, oh my god. Okay, let's go over the passive. Mini Gnar Hyper. Every third attack or ability against a target deals % max HP as magic damage. Okay, I'm not even going to start ranting about why that's an issue. Let's watch this. Just yet. Okay. Okay. So we kind of saw that. Now, this ability frustrates me, Tyler, for a couple different reasons. % max HP, like that in and of itself like scares me when I see it on an ability. That's another reason why Elise was so strong for so long, because she does damage based, she does percentage HP with her Q in caster form, and like Vi's W when she was like super strong.
Oh, yeah.
It would every couple of auto attacks. Oh, percentage HP. It's like,
yeah, it's a ranged version of Vi's auto attacks.
Why is this a recurring factor? Like we understand that this was a broken component to a lot of different champions. Like, oh yes, percentage bonus HP. Like they're going to be great against tanks. They're great against other things, but it's also great against tanks. Gains a moderate amount of movement speed boost that decays over time. So what ranged champion doesn't want high mobility? Like that makes it easy to play ranged. Like it's okay.
This is the greatest thing in the world to me, because it's a ranged version. It's a ranged version of the triple hit for Vi, or the Vi stacking ability, and it has a speed boost.
So it's in other words like, hey guys, Kog'Maw, we know Kog'Maw's strong because he does percentage max HP. We're just gonna add that to a champion that's already getting a lot of other stuff, and it's gonna be ranged and a bruiser. So multi-form thing going on. All right, let's talk about Mega Gnar Wallop. All right, I see that this ability has a stun on it. Like, first impression. Okay, he's got another CC effect. His Q it's a slow. All right, we understand.
Two different slows on two different versions
slow,
of his Q.
Low cooldown, AoE slow, Wallop. Okay, we have a bruiser with stuns, guys. Okay,
nice. Good. This is exactly what Shin wanted from his melee champions right here. So let's separate this real quick. If this was just a melee champion, he'd so far have Olaf's Q and a stun that Olaf doesn't have.
Okay, Tyler. All right? I don't want to interrupt you here, but now they do say briefly stunning all enemies in front of him, and
well, it's Gragas stun, right? It's not going to be much. Okay. Even if it's nothing longer than Gragas stun, it's Gragas stun.
We all know how balanced Gragas is right now, but we're not going to jump to too many conclusions on this ability because we don't see the numbers on it. We just see they say briefly stuns all targets, and this is one ability that has two different forms. So
right.
Nice. Okay.
Let's see what E is first before you.
Mini Gnar Hop. Okay, let me go ahead and read this first. Gnar jumps in a target direction, gains moderate attack speed boost. If Gnar lands on a unit, he bounces, hopping again in the same direction. If Gnar hops onto an enemy, he also damages and slows them. And then in Mega Gnar, he launches himself in a direction, damaging and slowing all targets he lands on. God, why gap closer with and another slow, like and when he's in ranged form, moderate attack speed boost. So we have a steroid, attack speed steroid, a movement speed steroid, slows, stuns so far. Tyler, I'm starting to lose it, but let's watch this video first. Hold on. Oh my god. He could. This is. Why? So in the first clip, we see Gnar in range form kite for briefly, very quickly, and get a couple auto attacks off on the Sandra. Mega Gnar, Crunch. But Tyler, I'm seeing here like kind of like a perfect kit for a ranged champion and a bruiser, and it's in the same champion. Like,
Well, no, I mean, think about it. Like, what if you're balancing a new AD? Let's say you want to make a new AD carry. I'm Riot, want to make a new AD carry. Let's just say, just for the sake of thinking, this is a ranged champion only a ranged champion, right?
right, okay.
All right. Let's say I'm gonna give him no mana, right? Let's make it energy. I don't care what it is. Rage. No resource, just cooldowns. Let's say just cooldowns. All right, we're going to give him a Q with a very, very short cooldown that slows the enemy and is an AoE skill shot, like a line skill shot. Okay, that's pretty good. There's a little bit of skill there, and if you're good at the game, you can, if you're good at the champion, you can keep someone perma-slowed, right? Cool. All right, let's give him, on his W, let's give him the ability to deal percentage maxed health damage and a speed up. Wow, a nice speed up. He could leave, he could close gaps, he could run away. He could get kills and then run away. Nice. All right. Let's give him the ability to hop away from people in the same way as maybe Ezreal or Fizz.
Or Lucian.
Probably a better example. Lucian.
Because we all know how that rework, quote unquote rework or tweak to Lucian went. Hey, let's reduce this champion's ranged auto attack or auto attack range, and then we'll just give it more mobility to compensate. Because more mobility always makes a champion, like more fun and also probably a little bit imbalanced. Kassadin and other champions, but yeah, Tyler, like I get you here, like 100%. Like if Gnar, like just looking at his kit, if Gnar was just a ranged champion, I'd be like, okay, like this is going to be a good ranged champion. And then I'm like, wait, so. He also has two abilities per skill up, Mega Gnar. So we have like a bruiser that would just be like, all right, this is a typical bruiser. We'll see him in the LCS, like, yeah, he's gonna be a tanky guy that no one can kill, and he's gonna run around and CC everyone. He's got slows and multiple abilities, CC effects and multiple abilities. Tyler, we haven't even talked about the ultimate effect yet, so let's talk about Mega Gnar real quick, and then we'll like kind of close it up with our thoughts, like combining the entire kit, because I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. Too many people are going to be like, but we haven't seen Gnar, we haven't seen the numbers yet. Well, we'll talk about why it's alarming regardless of the numbers after we watch Mega Gnar. Why does that exist? I just see him stun 2 targets against a wall.
One thing that I always wanted in my life, I'm not even going to lie right now, I play Thresh from time to time, and you know what I think? I think I like Flay. It's a good ability, but it would be a better ability if it could have the same effect as Condemn, right?
You know what would be great? Is if Vayne had an AoE Condemn. You know what I mean? Like
oh, man.
Okay, so Mega Gnar, we saw him stun two guys because he hit them against the wall. That's part of the ability. Basically, you knock them back, tossing all enemies around him in a target direction. All enemies thrown are slowed. Again, some more slowed. Damaged while enemies throwing it to a wall, including turrets, base structures, suffer extra damage, and are stunned. Okay, well, before we backtrack, Tyler, Riot recommends that Gnar is a top laner. Now, while I have not played Gnar, I can say that Gnar's extent on this game won't just be in top lane.
Well,
from experience, Tyler, if the carry, if they say it goes top lane and it's really strong, chances are if it can hold its own and during laning phase, it's going to end up mid lane, because that's where you get the most farm, that's where you have the most impact as a solo laner without having to depend on teleport. Maybe even an AD carry. Like, for all we know, Gnar could be like the strongest AD carry ever, just because you can just go into ultimate Mega Gnar and just become a bruiser, and we all know how well bruisers do against enemy AD carries.
Valkrin, I know that you're a little bit biased here, so let's look at a few of the last champions and where Riot recommended them to go. All right, so we have Vel'Koz. He was recommended to be a mid laner. He's a support. We have Yasuo, who's recommended to be a top laner. Mid laner. Jinx and Lucian, you know, they're 80 carries. Lucian's a mid now, but that's a different story. You could just keep going back, and it's not like you're being biased. It's not like to say that Riot makes a champion for a specific role and then it gets abused by the community is a fair thing because the community is much bigger than Riot's testing base, right? So when they come out with a champion like Quinn and say, "Look at this nice new AD carry we have," the community looks at it for a couple seconds and says, "That's a nice top laner. I like that champion."
Yeah, I mean, we all know how well Quinn does bottom lane. It's widely accepted that Quinn is a better top laner, and it's just totally true. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, we won't be able to speculate too much of where Gnar will go because, oh wow, you know, resourceless, multiform. Oh, let's just put this guy in the jungle. Like, we don't know. He could be best in the jungle. He could be like incredibly broken in AD
Well,
carry.
actually,
We'll see.
now that you mention it, I didn't think about his potential as a jungler until you just said it. But think about this.
Yes,
He's going
I
to use
know.
his ability to get in, his hop ability to get in, which will put him directly on top of the people he's ganking.
Tyler, we have to move on. I don't. I know he'll be super broken in jungle. Like,
All right.
okay, so what synergy? Synergy. I just want to rant a little bit about this because we talked about this before. I just said, oh, we got to turn on this recording and talk about this. So these champions that they say Gnar has great synergy with, like. Okay. Who doesn't have great synergy with Lulu, Amumu, Orianna? Like, you could do like, you know, like you could do like something like this with AD Sion and say, hey, AD Sion also works well with Lulu, Amumu, Orianna. Yes, they cover your bases. When you have Amumu, you have like AoE lockdown. You could play an AD Sion in a game if the entire enemy team is CC'd. Oh wow, Lulu. You know, any immobile champion can immediately be sped up and shielded, and you know they go into the team fight. You can knock up the entire enemy team with Lulu ult. And Orianna, yes, you're playing a gap closing champion that jumps into Mega Gnar. I'm Mega Gnar. I'm gonna jump into them. Oh, Orianna ult. So I don't know. Like it bothers me when I see this because it's like. Well, no shit, they have synergy with Lulu, Amumu, Orianna. Everything in the game does. Like,
Right. We were talking, and I remember what we said right before you said let's record this was when a champion is going to be really overpowered. When instead of saying has synergies with Orianna, Mumu, etc., they say has synergies with Sion, has synergies with with Trendemir. Like when someone when someone has synergies with them, that's when you really start freaking out.
You're like, uh-oh.
I love the description. I don't want to harp too much on like
Has
Riot's
synergy with a Kali.
comments.
Oh, shit.
Oh man, I don't even want to play against that champion.
Struggles against Teemo.
Exactly.
All
like read the last line of what it says under Teemo.
right. Dodges it boulders to Mega Gnar. Okay.
The Swift Scout hold on.
Wait,
he
where
can
am I
turn
reading
on
from?
move quick to dodge everything from boomerangs to boulders.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so we could say Lucian is good against everything in the game because any skill shot you could dodge with your E. But yeah, okay, like in all honesty, if you're gonna put Mega Gnar top lane, like yeah, Teemo is a very lane dominant champion. Honestly, like you could say Teemo top beats like just about everything if played correctly because you could just say, well, he can use move click and dodge that. It's almost like like you know a child's imagination game or when you're like playing with a friend like saying like no my super ability beats that. It's just like, but you're making up the rules.
Well, the greatest,
yeah,
the
I'm
greatest
making up
thing
the rules.
is, it's
That's
gonna
like,
be it's gonna be Morgana syndrome, right? Because like, yeah, you beat Teemo. Teemo will beat you as long as you don't hit that Q. But the second you hit your Q, you get an instant refresh cooldown, like almost instant refresh cooldown on the Q from what we saw in the video. And you're just gonna throw another Q. You're gonna be in his face with your percentage base health damage, and it's not gonna be a good time for Teemo. I honestly think that what we're gonna see is. Mini Gnar just abusing Teemo if Teemo gets hit by a single boomerang, but I might be wrong. I think that a million slows is a pretty good way to receive ganks too, and Teemo doesn't have a great way to get out of ganks, but I could be wrong.
Tyler, I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm reading the Champion Insight, and we skipped talking about Aurelia and Fizz, and basically all I have to say about those two is, I mean, Aurelia beats most matchups now. I mean, like, true damage, attack speed, magic damage, physical, all in Aurelia. Fizz, wow, you can dodge skill shots and stuff. I don't even want to talk about that. I just want to skip to this because I was reading it earlier, and they're talking about, like balancing transform champions. And I'm like, okay, Gypsy Lord, because you wrote this, I understand where you're coming from. Like, we're talking about, hey, we understand that balancing multiform champions can be difficult. Yes. Like,
Yeah.
my answer to that is
Okay,
yes.
yes.
It is very difficult to balance multiform champions. When they first released Jace, Tyler, I want to say that was one of the most fun champions I've ever played for a good reason. Like, his numbers were just all off the charts. Jace is still a good pick. How many times has Jace been nerfed? So many times. Jace is still actually a solid pick. He's not flavor of the month. You don't see someone in gold saying, "Oh my God, like, I gotta ban Jace or we're gonna lose the game." But okay. So pre-nerf Nidalee, yes, we accept that pre-nerf Nidalee was incredibly overpowered. Post-nerf Nidalee, widely considered by high elo players as also an extremely powerful champion on my God tier list for a good reason. So while this first part of this discussion's like, hey, we understand that we got to have counterplay. Jace doesn't do too well up close. No, what really makes me alarmed by the fact that they're like, hey, all right, we got to make it so Gnar's bad at some things.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's bad at. It doesn't even matter if his damage numbers are like on the lower side of the spectrum. He has slows on multiple abilities. He has multiple stun abilities, or what is it? Like a stun on Mega Gnar.
Stun on
Was
Mega
Boulder Toss? Boulder Toss had a slow to it. I thought he had 2 stuns. Let me go back and look. Mini Gnar Hop. Mini Gnar Hop. Okay.
He has 3 slows and a stun.
He has 1 stun, or was it the knockback?
No. Okay, so the optimal engage, especially out of the jungle, will be you transform to Mega Gnar from Hop. And because you're hopping onto them, you'll get the bonus damage and slow.
Wall
and
up.
you'll also hop.
Tyler, W wall up briefly stuns all targets in front of him.
Oh, yeah, that was it.
And then, in Mega Gnar form,
so
he
here's
throws
your
a
ideal,
tantrum, tossing
here's
all
your
inmates
ideal
around
engage.
him. So he potentially has 2 stuns and 2 slows, or 3 slows.
Well, here's your ideal engage. Mini Gnar, you'll transform to Mega Gnar by using your E to hop onto them and to close the gap. And you'll slow them because you'll be bouncing on top of their heads. Then you'll lead with you'll follow up with a Mega Gnar wall up to stun them, follow up with a slow from your Boulder Toss, and follow up with your ult, which will probably slow them because you're going to be able to aim it correctly and stun them. So it will be 2 slows. Every ability you just heard, either snare or slows or stuns. And in addition, that's not counting Crunch, which we don't know if it'll be immediately available after transforming. So it's a little bit ridiculous.
Oh God, Tyler. The second paragraph. Scroll down to the second paragraph under Champion Insight. So how's he different? Well, Mini Gnar's one of the most mobile champions in the game. What? Why would you lead with that statement? Like, why would you boast about that? Why is that a good thing?
Well,
why are
okay.
you like,
His
you know what,
weakness.
guys? Well, Mini Gnar's one of the most mobile champions in the game. Okay, Mini Gnar is the most mobile champion in the game. That's half of his kit.
Don't worry.
He goes
Mega
to
Gnar.
Mega Gnar.
Mega Gnar isn't very mobile at all, but every ability is either slow or stun. So
why does this exist?
my favorite line on Mega Gnar is that he's also surprisingly bursty. So I'm just thinking in my head, okay, so he's got a slow or a stun on every ability, and he's got bursts.
What does he not have? Like, seriously, in all honesty, he doesn't have utility? Like, is that their argument? Like, hey, Gnar can't Lulu ult someone and
their argument is that because you can't change from Mega Gnar to Mini Gnar immediately, and swap back like Jace can, you're not going to be able to close gaps and distances very.
You know
quickly.
what, Tyler? I wouldn't want to change my stance instantly with Jace if I had the most mobility in the entire game when I'm in range form, and one of the scariest bruisers I've ever seen from a kit.
Well, yeah, they ignore the fact
that
you don't even need to be a synergy to make him a good champion. Like,
he's a good he does everything he needs in his own kit. Like, hey, this champion's got great burst and he's got 2 2 stances, but he has no CC. No, Gnar has so much CC. Gnar can set up all the kills in the world that he wants by himself. Like, before we're even talking about the numbers, his kit is amazing. Like, I don't know what we're dealing with here on the spectrum of how strong he's going to be. other than the fact that if they don't seriously tone down his numbers and possibly remove some of the CC that he has, this could be like, I mean, I know that people get bummed out when you immediately say something's overpowered before you've actually seen it, but this scares me, Tyler. This is something that, like, I don't ever want to see a champion like this in a solo queue game because it does too much. Like, I honestly don't see the weakness here that Riot is talking about. Like, if Mini Gnar has one of the most mobility in the game, then, like, you don't even need to use like your actual Mega Gnar to finish off kills and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Like you don't need to say that, oh, you're stuck in Mega Gnar, you can't ranged auto attack. No, it's saying that, like, hey guys, like, Mini Gnar is a champion in and of itself. We don't need to transform to just carry this team fight. I can just sit back and kite.
Yeah,
I can pretend like I'm the best AD carry in the game because I might be.
If he's an AD carry, then here's my thoughts, and this is just my this might be my closing thoughts. I just wanted to get your opinion on this.
Yeah.
You build him like an AD carry. Let's say you do a decent deal of damage in a team fight, but then they finally get to you in the back line. They're on top of you. What do? Wait a second. I have 2 stuns in Mega Gnar form. Well, hold on.
Why does it say he's slow? Like, I guess they're saying he's got, like, the lowest base movement speed in the game. Like, is that what they're using to offset, like, hey, he's the most mobile champion in the game when he's a Mini Gnar? Like, I don't know about this. He's got a gap closer. He's got slow stuns. Like, I don't think it really is going to cut it by saying, oh, he's just slow. Like, you know who else is? Like, Gangplank doesn't have any gap closers. And, like, in all honesty, like, Gangplank would love to have some of Gnar's kit. Like, hey, let's have Wallop on Gangplank where he just jumps to a location and stuns all targets.
Right.
We would see Gangplank's win rate go up like several percentages because of that. I don't know. Like, this just bothers me, and that's ultimately why I wanted to make a video with you, Tyler, because we were just going over this in Skype, and we saw this, and we're just like, are you kidding me? Like, has Riot not learned from, like, Elise, balancing Elise and other, like, multi transformations? Like, you can possibly stick on something that, like, makes them inherently weak in one area, but if you're giving them everything else in the world, they're always going to be better or superior picks than the outdated champion kits. Like, if Gnar had a mana pool, at least you could be like, hey, like, yeah, you've got to get something to deal with Gnar's mana issues. It's like, no, like.
Yeah, right.
That's not even an issue.
We've talked about this. We've talked about this a lot. Like,
yeah.
What makes Malphite one of the worst champions to play in the game? It's his mana cost. You use 2 Qs, and his mana.
I mean, to be fair,
empty.
he's not one of the worst champions in the game, but
he's
one of the most anti-fun champions to play early game,
right. Exactly.
because they added the counterplay of saying that, hey, like, we understand if Malphite's able to spam his abilities early game, he's already a strong mid to late game champion because it's like R into the back line. What counterplay is that other than flashing to anticipate it? But yeah, we nerfed his mana cost. We lowered his mana pool in order to make Malphite weaker in some area. So, his really easy to use mid to late game is offset.
It's okay. Well, here's my actual closing thoughts. We need to wrap this up.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this champion is what Riot has been working on for the longest time. And this will be the biggest gap between Braum and Gnar. It's the biggest gap we've seen to date between champions, right? So they held off until they thought that this champion was perfectly balanced in their mind.
I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, Tyler, but looking at the fact that, like, looking at how his kit would function, it just scares me because
a little over 3 months. A little over 3 months.
I understand that Riot, like, wants to make fun champions, but the difference between fun and powerful is a short line, because you have fun playing a powerful champion because you're inherently stronger than others, so it's easier to pull off. When it doesn't have stuff like mana and other limiting factors, it takes less, like, you don't have to, like, hold yourself back. You just use your abilities. You know what I mean? Like, when you're playing a mana champion early, like, something like Ahri, you can't just, like, throw your Orb Deception on every minion wave levels, like, 1 to, 7 and beyond. Like, you can't just, like, spam your abilities constantly and still expect to be able to trade. But something like Gnar, whenever I just see a new resourceless champion, or I mean, we know it's Rage, but you know, the fact that it's not mana is the main issue. It just makes me worry because is this what we're always going to be expecting with new champions? Like, hey, mana's an outdated stat. Well, if it is, then why are we still working with it with older champions? And why does every new champion seem to have all the problems fixed for melee and ranged? Like the eternal discussion between melee and ranged and how to balance it. Well, yeah, well, if every champion was ranged and melee, that would fix the issue, right? Like, I don't know. All right. So, any final thoughts, Tyler?
I'm gonna enjoy playing this champion when he comes out at the end of next couple weeks. I've always wanted to be able to piece together my own champion from champions that currently exist, like Olaf, Sivir, and Lucian. So I'm really excited to see this, and I hope you are too.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm Valkrin, and joining me was Tyler, the TGO, and I'll see you guys next time.